Hi, today we are going to see about the features of primary dentition. The features of primary dentition generally are dealt under three topics, that is general characteristics, spacing and occlusal relationship. Let us see one by one now. Under the general characteristics, we have certain features which are unique to primary dentition and which are the first one is the arches are half round or ovoid. As you can see in this picture, this whole arch is perfectly half round and ovoid, both the maxillary and the mandibular arches. This is typical of primary dentition. The next is there is no curve of spee in primary dentition, which otherwise you can call it as a flat curve of spee. Here, the first picture shows a primary dentition with a flat curve of spee. It can be demonstrated in this picture. The second picture shows what is a curve of spee as it is in a permanent dentition. So you can see the difference in these two pictures. The third feature is the shallow cuspal interdigitation. The first picture shows how the primary molars, the cuspal inclination is shallow, so the interdigitation is also almost flat. Whereas the second picture, you can see the relationship of the first prominent molar, where you can see the interdigitation is more steep. The next feature is about the vertical inclination of the teeth. In primary teeth, all the teeth are almost 90 degrees to the basal arch, whereas in permanent teeth, they are slightly inclined. And there is slight overjet or overbite in primary dentition. That is another feature of primary dentition, and there is little or no crowding when seen in the primary dentition. If crowding is present, then it is abnormal. Next, we'll go to the second features of the primary dentition about the spacing. Coming to spacing, there are two important spaces present in the primary dentition. The first one is interdental spaces, which is also known as physiologic spaces or developmental spacing. The second space, which is present in the primary dentition and unique to primary dentition, is the primate or anthropoid or simian spaces. Let us see the first one, the interdental or physiologic or developmental spacing. As you can see in this picture of a primary dentition, there are a lot of spaces in between all the teeth in this, which is demonstrated in this picture. These are normal to primary dentition and are called physiologic spacing. It is about zero point 0 to 8 millimeter with an average of 4 millimeter in the maxilla and 1 to 7 millimeter with an average of 3 millimeter in the mandible. Coming to the second spaces, which is known as primate or anthropoid or simian spaces. These are spaces typical similar to that of those primates or our ancestors, the monkeys and their groups. Primate space is a space which is present mesial to that of the maxillary canine and distal to that of the mandibular canine, as you can see in these two pictures. Next is occlusal relationships of the primary dental arches. The occlusal relationship can be studied under two headings. One is the primary molar relationship, the second one is the anterior teeth relationship. Coming to the primary molar relationship, which is given by Baum in 1950, it can be divided into three distinct types. First is flush terminal plane, mesial step type, and distal step type. Flush terminal plane is the plane wherein the distal surface of the maxillary second primary molar is in line with the distal surface of the mandibular second primary molar. There is no mesial or distal positioning of the teeth. This is called as flush terminal plane and it occurs in majority of the primary teeth. The second type is the mesial step type, wherein the distal surface of the mandibular second primary molar is ahead or mesial to that of the distal surface of the maxillary second primary molar, as you can see in this picture. This is also common. The third step, the type is the distal step, wherein the distal surface of the mandibular second primary molar is distal or behind that of the maxillary, distal surface of the maxillary second primary molar. This is less common when compared to other two types. The percentage of occurrence are about 86 percentage of the cases have flush terminal type, and 14% you can see mesial step, and about 10% of them have distal type of step type of a primary molar relationship. Coming to the anterior teeth relationship, you have overjet and overbite. Overjet is the overlapping of the maxillary incisors ahead of the mandibular incisors. It's about 2 millimeters, which can up to range up to 6 millimeter in primary teeth. Overbite is the covering of the upper teeth when compared to the lower teeth, which is about 2 millimeter, which is usually presented as percentages, whereas in primary teeth it's about less than 30% coverage in overbite. Coming to the summary, the general characteristics, we have seen the general characteristics, the spacing and the occlusal relationships of primary teeth. Under general characteristics, we have seen all these features. In spacing, we have seen the physiologic and primate spaces, and occlusal relationship, we have seen the different types of molar and anterior relationships. Thank you.